Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here to give you that quick, solid understanding of specific legal procedures. Basically a shortcut to being well informed. Today, we're cracking open the MPEP, the Manual of Patent Examining Procedure, and focusing on ownership and assignment. Specifically, Chapter 300, Section 308, it's titled Issue to Applicant. And for everyone following our series, a big thank you to Mike Shepard for pulling this all together. This section is, well, pretty fundamental now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It really gets to the heart of a major shift in patent practice. Our goal today is really to unpack how a patent can end up being granted to someone other than the person who actually invented the thing.
Right, like a company or some other entity.
Exactly. And this is particularly relevant under the rules that came in after the American Invents Act, the AIA.
That idea, the patent going straight to the company, not the inventor, it sort of goes against that classic image we have of the lone inventor, doesn't it?
It does, but it reflects modern reality. Think about corporate R&D, university research. Ownership often rests with the institution from the get-go. So yeah, this whole Section 308, it's really built on the post-AIA framework. We're talking about applications filed on or after September 16, 2012. The legal basis comes from 35 U.S.C. 118 and the corresponding regulation 37 CFR 1.46. These lay out the procedures.
Okay, so let's unpack that. If it's not the inventor filing, who can step into those shoes, legally speaking, according to MPEP 308?
Right. So Section 308 lays out three specific types of parties who can file instead of the inventor. The whole point is to make sure that, someone with a legitimate right doesn't lose out just because the inventor isn't the one handling the paperwork.
Makes sense. So who are they?
Okay, first, pretty simple, an assignee. Someone the inventor has already formally transferred their rights to.
Like the company they work for.
Often, yes. Second, it could be a person or entity to whom the inventor is legally obligated to assign the invention. Think employment agreements, research contracts, that kind of thing.
So even if the formal assignment document hasn't been signed yet, the obligation is enough.
Under this provision, yes, the obligation itself can be the basis. And third, this one's a bit broader, an individual or entity who can show they have a sufficient proprietary interest in the invention.
Okay, that second one, the obligation to assign that seems like where it really impacts big companies, right? If you sign that employment contract.
Exactly. That's probably the most common scenario in practice. If an employee has a binding contract saying inventions belong to the company can just file the application directly as the applicant.
That sounds much more efficient.
Oh, it's a huge change. Think about it. Before this, if the inventor, say, left the company on bad terms or just wasn't cooperating.
Nightmare.
Right. The company might have had to go through complicated petition processes. Now, if they file as the applicant from the start, they control the prosecution. It reduces risk significantly.
Okay, but I want to go back to that third category. Sufficient proprietary interest. That sounds potentially ambiguous. What's an example there? Someone who isn't technically an assignee yet and maybe doesn't have that direct employment obligation?
Good question. It's less common, but it covers situations where there's a clear legal stake, just not a standard assignment. Maybe an exclusive licensee who has the right to enforce the patent.
Okay, I could see that.
Or maybe someone who funded the research under a specific agreement that gives them control rights, even if it doesn't use the word assignment. But you have to demonstrate it. It's not just, being a friend who chipped in some cash. It usually requires a pretty strong legal basis, showing why they need to be the ones filing to protect their established rights. It's definitely got a higher bar than just showing a recorded assignment.
Right, that makes sense. It's a backstop for unusual cases. So, okay, let's say a company knows it fits one of these categories, assignee, obligated assignee, whatever. What do they actually do? What are the procedural steps with the USPTO?
Okay, now we're into the practical side, the paperwork. It's critical to get this right. There are really two key things you need to do. First, you have to clearly identify that non-inventor party as the applicant on the application data sheet, or ADS.
The ADS, that's this form with all the basic info, right? Inventors, addresses.
Exactly. And post-AIA, it's become the primary way you tell the USPTO, hey, this entity is the applicant. You formally declare it there.
So step one, fill out the ADS correctly. What's step two?
Step two is documentation. You need to back up that claim on the ADS with the actual legal documents. So you're the assignee, you need the assignment document. If it's an obligation, you need the employment agreement or contract. If it's proprietary interest, you need whatever proves that interest. And crucially, these documents need to be recorded with the USPTO.
Recorded. Okay, and I remember reading there's a really important deadline for getting that recording done. It's tied to the end of the process.
Yes, absolutely critical deadline.
Okay.
The ownership documents, the assignment, the contract, whatever it is, must be recorded before the issue fee is paid.
Before the issue fee. Okay.
Yeah.
And that issue fee, that comes after the patent application is allowed, right?
That's correct. You get a notice of allowance, and typically you have 3 months to pay the issue fee.
Yeah.
That 3-month window is basically your last chance to make sure the recorded ownership matches who should get the patent.
And it's a hard deadline. No extensions.
No extensions for this. If you pay the issue fee and the assignment supporting the applicant status hasn't been recorded, the patent won't issue correctly to that applicant.
Wow. So if a company files as the applicant, gets the patent allowed, but forgets to record the underlying employment agreement assignment before paying the fee, what happens?
Well, the patent can't legally issue to them as the owner of record at that point. The USPTO needs that recorded chain of title confirmed before they grant the patent. It could lead to delays, needing to file petitions, potentially messing up the grant date, or even problems down the line if the ownership isn't clean.
So that deadline forces transparency. By the time the patent issues, the public record of ownership needs to be sorted out.
Exactly. It ensures the information on the face of the issued patent is accurate regarding ownership at that specific moment. Which brings us nicely to the final step, the actual issuance. Section 308 makes it clear. When a patent is granted based on an application filed by someone other than the inventor, it has to issue to the real party in interest.
Okay, let's just nail that term down again. Real party in interest means?
It means the person or entity who holds the actual current ownership or controlling legal rights in the invention at the time the patent is granted. They're the ones who should be named on the patent document.
Got it.
And there's an ongoing responsibility here. The applicant, whoever filed, whether the assignee or someone else, has a duty to tell the USPTO if that real party in interest changes during the prosecution.
Changes, like if the company that filed gets acquired or sells the patent application.
Precisely. If ownership transfers after filing but before the patent issues, the applicant needs to update the USPTO. This notification usually happens when responding to the notice of allowance before paying the issue fee. You'd record the new assignment and inform the office.
So this keeps the final record accurate. What happens if nothing changes, or if the applicant doesn't report a change?
If no change is reported, the USPTO basically assumes the information they have on record is still correct. So if Company A filed as applicant, recorded their assignment from the inventor, and never reported a change, the office will issue the patent to Company A, assuming they remain the real party in interest.
Okay, so the system relies on the applicant keeping the record straight up until that issue fee payment.
That's the mechanism. It ensures the patent document itself reflects the proper ownership, which is vital for enforcement, licensing, everything else.
All right, pulling back a bit. MPEP 308 feels like a very practical, commercially focused piece of procedure. It's clearly designed to make the patent system work better for entities, not just individual inventors.
Absolutely. If you connect it back, especially to the pre-AIA situation,
Oh,
it's night and day for companies.
how so?
Well, like we touched on, pre-AIA, you generally needed the inventor's signature on an oath or declaration to even get the application properly filed if the inventor wasn't available or willing.
You had hoops to jump through.
Yeah.
Petitions, proving diligence.
Exactly. Time-consuming, costly, and uncertain. MPEP 308 largely removes that friction point for assignees or obligated assignees. The ability to file directly as the applicant is huge, but it balances that efficiency with accountability. You still need the underlying legal right, you need to formally state you're the applicant on the ADS, and crucially, you need to record the proof before the issue fee deadline. It maintains that chain of title integrity that's central to Chapter 300.
So it shifts the focus, in a way, from who invented this to who currently has the legal right to control this application and resulting patent.
That's a great way to put it. It's much more aligned with a rights holder perspective, which again reflects how innovation often works today, especially in corporate or institutional settings. It minimizes the risk of an uncooperative inventor holding up a valuable asset.
Okay, so wrapping this up, the key takeaway for everyone listening, MPEP Section 308 is the post-AIA rulebook for applications after September 16, 2012 that lets assignees, obligated assignees, or parties with a proven proprietary interest file for and receive a patent directly. But, and this is the big but, It only works if you follow the rules. Identify yourself correctly on the ADS and, critically, record your ownership documents before you pay that final issue fee.
Right. Which leads to maybe a final thought to ponder. Given how crucial that real party and interest status and the recording deadline are, how should companies think about their internal processes? For instance, should they maybe wait until the notice of allowance comes in to finalize and record internal assignments, especially if there have been reorganizations or potential transfers during the years of prosecution? How do you time that documentation to perfectly align with this USPTO requirement?
That's a really practical, strategic question for any IP department. Definitely something to think about regarding internal workflows. Thanks for walking us through that. And before we go, our standard disclaimer. This summary of the MPEP was generated using AI tools, including ChatGPT and Notebook LM. It might contain errors or omissions. It's intended for general educational and informational purposes only. This is not legal advice or a substitute for formal instruction. For authoritative guidance, please consult the official MPP, a qualified instructor, or a registered patent practitioner.